Okay, a question that gets commonly asked of me is what is my nutrition philosophy when it comes to doing a competition diet? Well, the philosophy is really more backed by science, and it's going to be backed by four major things that things have been studied and proven to work. And this is just an overall weight loss. If you want to lose weight, you need to be at a calorie restriction. Well, where's the restriction coming from? It's coming from something called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. Now, your basal metabolic rate is going to be the calories you need to ingest to neither lose weight nor gain weight, right? So it's just right at the area where you would stay the same. For you to start losing weight, losing fat, you need to be right underneath your BMR. And this is what we call a calorie deficit. If you're above it, then you'll gain fat or gain muscle, depending on what kind of nutrients you're putting in your body. So you'll grow, shrink or grow, right? So we're talking about your BMR. That's going to be the baseline. I find this out through questions that I ask you, these new client intake questions. They'll ask you, what's your physical activity? How many times are you eating per day? What's your estimated calories you're eating per day? And I can start to figure out where I need to start you at. A lot of people undereat. They undereat in fear that they're going to get overweight. But really, undereating is going to, in this sense, cause you to lose muscle. The philosophy is that you need to lose as much fat as possible while still maintaining muscle. Now, when you lose weight, you will lose muscle. But again, if you're being properly fueled with the right nutrients, you can maintain the most of the muscle mass that you have going into a contest prep, and that is the goal. The next thing is going to be your phenotype. So I'm going to look at your phenotype. What is your body type? There's three main types: ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph. Okay? Now, an endomorph is typically not going to fare too well in competition. They don't process carbohydrates very well. A keto diet or a paleo diet would do really well for somebody who wants to lose weight, but the problem is without carbohydrates, you don't have glycogen, and there are three things that you need for your muscles to be full: glycogen, salt, and water. Those three things combine. And if you're depriving yourself from glycogen, you're not going to be as full as you can be, and typically you're not going to have the conditioning that's going to be winning on stage. There are keto bodybuilders, I've seen them on stage. Typically, they're not able to achieve the level of conditioning, which conditioning means the level of body fat needed, and then also the body composition of the muscle needed to do well on stage. Now, once you figure out a phenotype, talking about an endomorph, you got an ectomorph is next. The ectomorph is going to be the hard gainer, the skinnier guy that can't really put on muscle without eating a whole bunch of food. And they always tell me, no matter what I try, I can't get any muscle. It's because you just don't understand your body just yet. An ectomorph can process carbohydrates very well. Typically, medium to lower protein, higher in carbohydrates, low fat is going to be a perfect macro mix for an ectomorph. And lastly, you have a mesomorph. I'm a mesomorph. It's going to be an athletic body type, and mine is going to be a balance of macronutrients: higher protein, medium carbs, medium fat. Again, so then we're going to figure out inside of your BMR, right, what is the macronutrient ratio that's going to be appropriate for your body. Another factor that we take into play is ancestral eating. Right? So where are your ancestors from? There's a lot of studies out now that show that, what your ancestors were processing and digesting, you're going to have the same microbiome, the same microbials in your stomach are going to be passed on genetically to you, and you should be able to actually process the same foods. And that goes all the way down to what foods are going to do well for you. A lot of times, there are carbohydrates and there are proteins that not only don't interact with you initially, but also as you are in prep, you'll find that foods don't react the same to you. Right? I have a lot of people that ground beef is fine in the beginning, and then we get close to the show, and beef, they don't process it very well, so we have to go away from it. Some people need brown rice. Some people need white rice because they can't process brown rice without getting bloated. For me, white potatoes, red potatoes bloat me. Sweet potatoes are perfect. And that's just me. I've dieted over 150 plus clientele. And each one of them has a different macronutrient mix, a different BMR, and a different ancestral eating style, in which tells me what type of foods to eat, what type of foods to put in there, right? What type of carbohydrates, what type of fats, what type of protein. And then also the ratio, and then again the BMR. So all these come into play. Now inside of this, right, when I'm giving you a meal plan, I don't go with the same thing. It might not be one set meal plan. There's so many tricks, and eventually you have to trick your body through carbohydrate manipulation. You can do carb cycling. 2 high carb days, the rest low, a high, mid, low. You can do loading back in carbohydrates, front loading carbohydrates. You can have a intermittent fast, right, on a off day to let your microbials reset. I also do a 24-hour fast. Very effective way to remove toxins out of the body. And you know, we as bodybuilders, we're always eating. We eat every 3 hours, and we found this to be the most effective because every time you eat, you burn calories. And if you're eating frequently throughout the day, you're burning calories throughout the day. And this is how we achieve this weight loss, but then by eating frequently, it keeps our body full and our muscles full. So these are kind of all the things that you take into play when it comes to making a nutrition plan. And my nutrition plans, I try to make them as healthy as possible. What I mean, you know, fruits and vegetables are still going to be in your diet. Lean meats, complex carbohydrates, healthy fats. It's got to be within your macronutrient mix that you need, but then also having all the food groups is the best way to go. A lot of people say prep isn't healthy. Well, no, you're actually eating a whole bunch of healthy food. The unhealthier part of it is getting to a body fat percentage which is extreme. Now this is an extreme sport. You have to get to an extreme level of conditioning, and you know, you can look good on the beach and then not look good on stage. It's two different things. And a lot of times we have a hard time, especially new competitors have a hard time grasping and understanding what it takes, but that's when experience comes into play as well. So that's my nutritional philosophy. I hope it helps you understand what I do and how I service my clients.